Welcome back, guys. You already know the drill, so indevstudios.com, etc. But there is something different today, and that is I have made a subreddit for all of my little guides and projects that I'm going to be putting out. So if you are interested in any of that, go ahead and hit up that subreddit. It's the More Meditation subreddit. It's a lot easier for me to update things on there because I can edit it easily myself, whereas Tristan is, my co-host on the podcast is editing the Indev Studios website and coding and all that stuff because he's good at that. But I'm just going to be using the subreddit because it's easier and I don't have to bother him all the time. Be like, hey, Tristan, can you please do this? No, I don't have to do that anymore. I can just do it all myself. So if you want, the guides are on there. Go check them out. I'll be uploading every time there's a new episode. There's going to be a new guide posted. Well, not new guide, but a new episode of the guide. You get what I'm saying. Speaking of, some of you asked for Spotify playlists, and you asked and now you received because they are going to be in the description of every single video. I had a hard time deciding whether I should put every song in the guide in one playlist or split it up into 6. And I ended up doing the latter in that I split it up into 6 different playlists because I think everything is so different. There wouldn't really be a point to me putting everything into one playlist and just going, here you go, this is progressive metal, have fun. So I think that way it's a lot more organized and you can pick the one that you kind of like and just listen, and you won't have to have me interrupting the song every 5 seconds. So now that that's out of the way, we have a really big category coming up today. And to celebrate that, I will be drinking Foster's. Very good. Category number 5, probably the most notable progressive metal band of all time, Dream Theater. So here we get a lot more symphonic and epic metal influences, longer songs, and I mean a lot longer, and the vocals are normally clean, but I do have a section for the heavy stuff if you're into that. The lyrics are about things like space, pain and suffering, knights and dragons, and being cold. I will say this category is what most people think of when you say progressive metal, because it's the most like in-your-face keyboards, wacky guitar solos and wacky time signatures, lots of bippity-boppity noises. And if you look backwards, you can see a lot of influence from the bands of the past like Rush and King Crimson and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and all the way back like that. But today we're looking forward, and today we're going to be talking about a band that is faltered a bit recently, I must say, but their discography remains as a testament for all time. This is Dream Theater. As always, I encourage you to listen to more of Dream Theater because they have a lot of content, but let's go ahead and move on. Pain of Salvation.
When she's calling me, a trace of blood to lead me through roads of agony. I never knew your name, but I will miss you just the same. I was to live.
Now, this band has what I would call a cult following. Their fan base is extremely strong, and that's for good reason. And I think although I wouldn't classify them most of the time as symphonic metal, they will lead you down that rabbit hole and help you to enjoy the beauty of melodic metal, such as Seventh Wonder. Seeing that Tommy Karavik is one of the best vocalists on this list, this band is a mandatory listen.
If you feel misunderstood, we'll stand together and fight. Won't you leave? No matter where you're from, this is your home. We're tearing down all the world's brother. It doesn't matter how far.
Obviously, as you all know, if you have to mention Seventh Wonder, then you have to mention Camelot right up there with them. I just think that Seventh Wonder is a little more palatable for the new listener and can ease you in a little bit better.
Tremble where I stand, my wish is your command. Whisper, whisper in the dark, tell me what you
If you like this family, then you might enjoy a band called Threshold. And another called Thoughts Factory.
Forever and through night and day, I will be there. In the rhythm of me, no serenity. And as my wounds are healing, all threats are new are gone.
And yet another called Pyramaze that I discovered recently.
In the open.
And now last under Camelot is a project with triumphant female vocals known as Triosphere.
I was not prepared to move this fast. I raced against the light. My eyes still tried to steal away the light. But I preach to the ground, cast your fears away.
If you like operatic narratives of tragedy told in every different style of music you can think of, then Ayreon is the one for you. Another band that reminds me of Ayreon is called Circle of Illusion, which has the same epic tones and different vocal styles going on. There's a lesser-known band here called Tillian, who has some interesting violin work and some haunting melodies.
Restless fingers grasping to reach, aloud in the ocean. Remorse, you had no choice, and I'll cover the cracks.
And if you love the classic epic metal sound mixed with a classic prog sound, then if you haven't given Beyond Twilight a chance, then you're missing out.
I bid you welcome to my shadowland. Drifting on a river blue, I'll sail my ship forever down the winding road. Heavy load here.
A lot of women in this category. Scardust is a pretty obvious choice here. They've got all the epic choruses and polish of the category. Since we're talking about Arjen Lucassen, a project you should try out is my favorite in this little subsection. It's called Guilt Machine. It's got the mystery and epicness of Ayreon, but it's a bit more toned down and darkened in a kind of Pink Floyd style.
To a memory, feel it slip away.
Another band to try out is one called Amorphous. This band has probably been around for 30 years, I think, and some would classify them as melodic death, but personally I think most melodic metal and more symphonic metal can kind of overlap and have a few similarities. Of course, anything with death in the name is naturally going to be heavier. Now, if you like this heaviness and this more death-based sound, you will probably enjoy a category later down the road. Well, we only have one left, so spoiler alert, it's the next episode. But for now, check out a band called Spiral Architect. I think they fit better here than later on because of their instrument choices and the vocals, but they could also fit in the last category pretty well, which is the annoying part about making this list. There is a ton of overlap between categories. Sort of a weird pick here is a band called Ohm, who probably reminds me of Pain of Salvation the most out of any other band. And if you want some really catchy melodies and that ride into battle kind of feeling from your music, then Evergrey can scratch that itch for you.
And when the sea roars, it pulled me in, and I never, it's over and over.
Some fun keyboard work and guitars that can almost get a little jinty at times is a recipe for a tasty dish called Shattered Skies. The next subcategory we have is Circus Maximus. Now, both this band and Seventh Wonder have great melodies, and I found to be extremely accessible even if you don't like metal. Really good sense of song structure, and it can still make it interesting at the same time. Probably a little less progressive but equally interesting, Cellar Darling plays around with a lot of traditional instruments. And almost like a scarier twin sister, Atomic Symphony adds some dirty heaviness to the cleanliness of epic metal. This next band combines the sensibilities of traditional progressive rock but adds the sheen and sparkle of symphonic and epic tones to make something that could have easily gone in episode 1, honestly. This is Frost.
But I'll be a killer. It'll make me a real man. I will be the headlights. Your futures are fading.
have a little fun with a band called OK Goodnight, taking Casey Lee Williams' stunning vocals and add some really fun guitar and drum work in the background. Next subcategory is where we get some symphonic madness. These guys will make you daydream about knights and castles and charging into war, all from the comforts of your own headphones. This category is one step closer to our more heavy and ballsy subcategories, and Blind Guardian is leading the charge. Blind Guardian has two children, one being Symphony X, these guys you've probably heard of before, especially their epic song, The Odyssey. A band called Sorcerer has a similar sound to the newer Symphony X song. I gave Sorcerer 4 children, first being a band called Daydream XI. The second being Forever's Edge. Witherfall has an old school sound that reminds me of Nevermore and other bands like that.
Just slips away in a haze.
And last under Sorcerer is Scar Symmetry, who brings some of the harsh vocal work into the fray. And now another subcategory of Symphony X is edging more towards the doom sound, but still keeps the power metal going, a band called Chemist. Terra Maze has a little bit of a newer, fresher sound that separates it from the others, a little lesser known, but go give them a chance. Speaking of lesser known, from what I could see as a strong contributor to the genre, Whispers in Crimson is just incredibly solid all around, and it makes me wonder why I haven't heard of them more. Last of these will get a little heavy. We've got Angra, who've mastered beautiful harmonies and flashy musicianship to a T. And probably the most symphonic and epic, with some insane falsetto work, Pathfinder is a fun ride that reminds me of the best parts of Dragon Force, actually, in their speedy instrumentals and catchy singing. For something a little dark and bleak, helping to lead us into the next subcategory, perhaps Ayreon can help you down the path of heaviness. And now we've hit a point where symphonic metal gets some tinges of blackened death in it, and it starts to get a lot darker, but lots of beautiful symphonies with plenty of harsh vocals and depressing lyrics. This is Wintersun. Now, I gave Wintersun 4 very different children here, all very heavy but in quite different ways. If you're a fan of Swedish black metal, like actual black metal, you can find Dark Funeral to be to your liking. Token is more likened to melodic death, but I still think that it shares some common themes with Dark Funeral, so I'm putting them together. Halter is a very progressive pick that a lot of people haven't heard of. Sure, they haven't put out an album in 10 years, but this album does a lot of things that I've honestly never heard before or since. Behind the cloudless sky, an unknown maiden with life for a life. Flying under the stars. If you love insanely fast, technical metal with demonic vocals and incredible bass lines, Demon King is exactly what you need. What I once saw in the YouTube comments of this band describes them perfectly, I think. They called them blackened black metal, and I agree completely. So turn the lights off, light some candles, and play Achlis on your biggest speakers. Report back in the comment what the results are. the second child of Wintersun has roots in Norwegian extreme metal. You'll hear a pretty big difference compared to the last section. This is Enslaved. Also hailing from Norway comes Mundanus Imperium. I don't know how to describe this one, so I'll just let the music do the talking. Suffering Hour. So funny story, I have no idea why I put the band Hourglass on here because there are about 50 bands named Hourglass and I didn't specify which one it was. There's a really hardcore extreme band called Hourglass, but it doesn't really fit. No idea what band I was talking about because I can't find it now. Oh well, so here is the closest of what I think I wanted Hourglass to be. Sorry about that. I hope that was the right one. Anyways, next subcategory is led by a band that is no longer in existence. During their time, they put out a great body of work. It is Zerath. So this category is a tad more melodic, but it still has the insanity from the past, as you can tell. The next band here is Bring Out Your Dead. Pushing me to go. I can't do. Despite the harmonies of your skin toning out like ocean. When it comes to this flavor of metal, it's hard to get a more epic album than Spiritual Migration by Persephone. This album is beautiful and intense and the perfect amount of insane. While we're talking about beauty mixed with intensity, it's hard to leave out Desiderium. And if you want a full review of their new album, Aria, go check out my New Arrivals episode 1, where I go into full detail about that. Alright, and the last one here, another band from that New Arrivals episode, Wintersun. And as I said in that video, and I will say it again here, this band is taking the entire progressive metal genre by storm. Hidden gem of this side is Burden of Life. I love their powerful choruses and epic soaring orchestral tones. Go give them all of your attention. This next band is something powerful. This subcategory is more orchestral and acoustic, but trust me when I say that all of these bands make beautiful music. Like this next band could have easily made the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. This is Xanthrochroid. Following closely behind them and just a touch more brutal, Shade Empire is a great pick for a cold winter's night. Let's get some more underrated bands in here. Countless Skies has some really amazing vocal work for a band that nobody ever seems to talk about. And obviously, Insomnium is a staple when it comes to melodic metal. They're on every Spotify playlist, and for good reason. These harsh vocals are really hard to beat. I thought a good natural progression from here was In Vain.
We won't accept a doctrine that conceals reality, 'cause we are the seekers of seeing the truth. To live with passion and fight for a purpose, willing compassion, a vigorous stride towards redemption, an everlasting goal to reveal the truth.
Okay, so that's enough of the more epic and melodic symphony type stuff. The last cog in the Dream Theater wheel is a look into the future of what we call prog. These are the guys still carrying on the technicality, the keyboard work, and the rock influence, and they're taking it to the next level and still progressing the genre forward. This is where I decided to put Earthside. This band hasn't put out a large body of work yet. There's an album that'll probably be out by the time you see this video, and I'm pretty excited for that. I think they represent this category in that they have a modern sound and are pushing the genre into epic proportions. Next up is a heavy hitter. This is Haken. When The Mountain came out and I first listened to it, I decided that that was the way I wanted music to sound. It was and still remains to be one of my favorite albums of all time. 3 children under Haken, this one might seem a little bit out of place. I felt that 12 Foot Ninja has a lot of roots in nu metal. You can tell by their lyrics and song structures and styling, but if you delve deeper into their sound and their albums, you'll find that there's a lot of like keyboard driven, rhythmic, and melodic elements that I think put them in this section. I've also found that if you like this more djinty but very symphonic sound that Haken brings, you'll enjoy a little project by Richard Hinshaw. Some really creative stuff has been in the works. You might recognize the singer from this one. This is a super group of prog rock beasts. This is Novena. Occasionally you run across a solo project that genuinely impresses you. Go check out Surface of the Sun. He needs more attention.
Patience, I wait in sunlight, in darkness, despite and realize I'm like a dragon inside, and if I'm lost, I'll be fine and finally breathe out, changing, breathing.
Siege's Even is a band dating back to the 80s who has tastefully evolved their sound over the years, but still keeps their maturity all the while. I'm about to give you a very hidden gem. This band's album called Prisoner of Sunlight has 73 views on YouTube. This will impress your friends because no one but me and you have heard of them. They're called Austaras. Here's another heavy hitter. This is Caligula's Horse. I feel as though their newer music has djent-like elements, but I still think they belong here on the list because they're very melodic and you can tell that they have roots in symphonic music. They've got a very mystical atmosphere. Tetrafusion was giving their Horizons EP away for free on Bandcamp a long time ago, and I downloaded it and I was blown away. Very unique vocalist, fresh sounding instrumentation, very underrated band.
She was a shard of mirror and a broken sword, screaming, "Look at yourself."
This eternal riddle dust has fallen down. What gives you the right to take life away?
Tetrafusion has a single child called Ebon Ivory, who also needs more attention. Great clean vocals and soaring choruses. And anyone who can sit and listen to Staying Embodied by 22 without horribly trying to sing along is someone I can't be friends with.
Linguistic progress that stood out to save you. Give a moment to make it last, but enjoy it more when it's in the past. Notorious right now, the taste of feeling and sound.
The Incredible Jolly is a strange band that I can't seem to quite figure out no matter how many times I listen to their songs. Not that their music is particularly eccentric, I think it's just their branding. They remind me of 12 Foot Ninja in that they have more roots in alternative metal, but they put their own twist on it, which is why they manage to be progressive at the same time. Alright, last subcategory of Earthside is a very creative band from Boston who put one album out in 2015, and that one album alone has managed to earn themselves a spot here. This is Native Construct. From Israel, Distorted Harmony has 6 members and makes really long, epic songs that sort of sound like what you would have expected Dream Theater to evolve into in recent years. Similarly, the band called Need is no stranger to organs and prog rock instrumentals with the added intensity of older symphonic metal bands of the past. Alongside this power metal sound is a band from Brazil called Maestric. And last but certainly not least on this list is a very beautiful band that captured my attention instantly. With extremely unique vocals, it reminds me a bit of Native Construct, but with a little extra spice. This is Others by No One.
This place is all that I know now. Hopes and dreams of a feeble man who lost his everything. No longer are we different. Side by side, we'll see this regret.
And that's it for Dream Theater. One more episode remains. That was one of the longer, bigger categories. There's just so much to cover when it comes to Dream Theater, and the influence that they've had over the entirety of progressive metal is insane. Like they're kind of the start of a lot of this. One more episode remains, probably 2, because I'm planning on having an episode for the extra bands that I didn't mention in any of the category, so look out for that. Just in case you were wondering why there are some of them missing. Alright, I'm tired of talking, so just go ahead and go to the subreddit, or go to the website, indevstudios.com, or go listen to the Spotify playlists. I am done for the day. See you next time.